If you run a business or you're in sales, it makes sense that to be successful, you have got to be competitive within the marketplace within which you operate. To be competitive, you've got to understand who your competition is. One thing I have found over 20 plus years of working with major brands right down to small independently run businesses is that more often than not, people aren't actually that clear on who their competition is, and that is costing them business. And that is what I want to talk about in this video. I want to give you a different perspective on the competitive landscape that will help you make more sales. Now, if you don't know me, as a brief introduction, my name is Brian Conway from achievesuccess.co.uk, and I help businesses grow their top line. That's it, and make more sales, whether that's through generating additional leads, converting more of those leads into paying customers, or actually scaling the revenues and value of every customer or lead that you generate. One of those three systems I help businesses implement more effectively. And part of that process is being clearer on who your competition actually is. Now, this subject I decided to cover today because last Friday, in my 4-Minute Friday video, I talked about how people buy. And if you haven't seen that video, just go and find me on YouTube or LinkedIn or Facebook, whatever your preferred medium is. I'll put some links actually below this post today, and you'll be able to find this video. But very briefly, I talked about the fact that a customer, when they buy, will have a problem, ideally they're trying to address or fix. They'll look for a solution to that problem. They'll look for a product or service that delivers that solution, and then they'll look for a supplier, someone like you, to deliver that product or service. That's typically how people buy. And what I talked about last week, very briefly, was I said the earlier you can engage, the more you can influence that buying decision so that ideally they buy from you. However, something that from some of the comments that came up, what people didn't realize, I think, is that you've got to remember at this point here, this business was looking at two options, either recruiting some new salespeople or training, okay, I'm emphasizing that one because that's what I do, training their existing salespeople. And if they choose that option, then they look for me as a supplier. Now, I am competing against other training companies in that instance. However, this is the bit that was missed, I think, is that up to that point, I'm also competing with recruitment companies. Or an alternative way of increasing their revenue could be to increase their marketing activities, potentially to generate more leads for which they can then sell to. So another alternative in this list of competitors that I'm actually competing against could be a marketing agency. So I wouldn't necessarily think of a marketing agency as a direct competitor of mine. I wouldn't see a recruitment company as a direct competitor of mine, but they are. And the key is because we're all competing for the same money. We're competing for the funding. And that's where a lot of people miss this idea of who their true competition is. It's anybody else, or an expression I often use is when I say to businesses is why you over every and any other option that's available to the customer. And these are other options that would be available to them. So I've got to differentiate myself not just against other training companies, which is where most of you see your direct competition coming from, but actually what are the alternative uses of capital, which is the financial term that's used. That's what we're ultimately competing against, because this business could look at working with a marketing agency as a quicker and easier, maybe a less risky option for them to help them generate more leads, for which they convert into sales, which would help them drive their revenues back up, which would help them increase profitability. Now, if that doesn't kind of make sense, go back and watch last 4-Minute Friday video, and then you'll kind of get the context of this. But I'm sure that makes sense. So you are competing for budget more often than not. And another option, another competitive threat to you could actually be to do nothing. That may be something that you've heard of. To do nothing. So maybe just, we won't bother. You know, we'll just ride it out and come into a recession potentially at the moment. And one option during a recession is to kind of just to freeze. I talked about this a few weeks ago in a video. It's to actually just do nothing, just to kind of ride it out and hope for the best. And that's not really a strategy. But sometimes it could be because the customer doesn't see enough value in what you offer, or maybe what any of these people offers, so they just decide to do nothing. Let's just kind of see what happens. Right? Or do nothing with you and invest the money with something else. And I often share an example of when I was selling to UPS, United Parcel Service, years ago, and asking the customer who did he see as my kind of biggest competitor. And he said General Motors. General Motors, an automotive company that sells trucks, compared to the IT company that I was working for with this new omni-channel cloud-native contact center that we were proposing, which poles apart from technology perspective. So rather than thinking about other providers of contact center solutions as my competitor, I hadn't realized that General Motors was a direct competitor as well, because they could put the money into new trucks, a new fleet of vehicles, rather than into some new cloud, unproven, bleeding edge, kind of cloud-based contact center solution. So think about that. Who truly is your competition? It's not necessarily just your direct competitors, but it's actually anybody else that could go after your budget and take that away from you. So there you go, a different perspective on the competitive landscape. That's it for this short video sales class. My name is Brian Conway, as I said, from achievesuccess.co.uk. If you go to the website, there's lots of other free sales resources there for you. Please do like, share, comment, I'd appreciate it. And as I said, I'll provide links for you to go back and watch previous videos if you haven't seen them. And of course, you can subscribe or follow me in any of those channels as well. That way you'll get notification each time I release something new. Thanks for your time, take care, and think about that, and hopefully it will help you increase your conversion rates. Take care, bye-bye.